What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. In today's video we are going to talk about current mid-size trucks and the fact that they are pretty much all switching to 4 cylinders rather than the old school V6 engines.
Yeah, we have a few still left. There's the Frontier, there's the Gladiator, and then the Ridgeline.
That's basically your options now.
Yeah. Everything else, the Tacoma, the Ford Ranger, they're all switching to these smaller engines, and it's been kind of a 50-50 on what we've seen. People don't minding it, and people, not wanting a pickup truck with a smaller engine.
Yeah, so we're gonna finish off-roading in this Canyon AT4X and kind of talk about like reliability, how they drive, the actual power, MPG, regulations, things like that. Kind of every factor that goes into why the heck car companies are doing this, and are they really worth it? Should you shy away? Should you stick with your old school one? Let's get into it. Let's go for a drive in the Canyon and see what we think. All right, as we get off of this big rock and bump, let's start off with just how these trucks feel, 4-cylinder to 6-cylinder. Because you got over 10 years of ownership with the Toyota Tacoma V6.
Yeah, the V6 has been good. I just feel like over the years, Toyota's definitely not had enough power with it. And I know that was a big complaint with the V6, but the positive was the solid reliability.
Oh yeah.
Toyota's been using the V6 since like the first gen 4Runners, even when they had the 4 liters. I went to, my 3rd gen had a 3.5, so they were kind of getting, already we can see them downsizing the V6 over the years. But super reliable engine. It's in the Camry. It's in a lot of the vehicles that Toyota has used over the years. So I didn't really have any issues with it aside from the lack of power.
It had decent top end. I think the last gen Tacoma was like 267 horsepower, something like that.
Yeah.
Just the low end torque, you just didn't really get it, especially with a 4,500 pound truck.
Yeah, and off-roading like we're doing today, this 4-cylinder, we were only getting up to maybe 2,400 RPM, where the V6 really needed to, you almost sat there and just listened to it rev without moving.
Yeah, the thing
because
is,
it had a lot more stress.
Right. The way a V6 naturally aspirated engine works, it gets more power the higher up in the revs you go, so peak power is redline.
Yeah.
In a 4-cylinder turbo, peak power is maybe 4,000 RPM, and really the torque is what you're using in a turbo engine versus the horsepower. It has more torque than horsepower, to where, yeah, you don't have to redline and go, using the whole rev range to get the power. So it's kind of a little bit more relaxing, I would say, at least off-roading and driving around town in the 4-cylinder turbos, just because the torque is there, the bottom end power is there, to where, I recently did a comparison with a brand new Tacoma in a 2023, and I stayed under 4,000 in the turbo and just zipped right up to 50, no big deal.
Yeah.
When I hopped in the V6, I had to step on it and it redlined, and I wasn't trying to like redline, a car or anything, but that's just kind of how it drove. So I like the power upgrades from the turbo. I think it does do a lot. Reliability you touched on, yes, a V6, it's so simple, anybody can work on it, it's very easy. But turbo engines on my GTR, I had that tune making 700 horsepower, that is a lot more than stock. I didn't abuse the car, but I ripped on it and it was rock solid. I never had an issue. There's a lot of high performance sports cars where people are beating on them, cranking up the power, and they don't have issues. So yeah. I think maybe truck buyers are just new to turbos, where they're a little scared to say, they're so unfamiliar with turbos where they think it's just all this extra heat, all this extra maintenance.
Yeah.
No, I've owned literally a ton of turbo cars. It's nothing. I've never had issues. So I don't think the reliability is really something to worry about. Now, yes, we have seen some issues with turbo engines, like the new Tundra having a lot of recalls. It has nothing to do with the turbo, though. That is manufacturing just being sloppy with stuff in the engine. That has nothing to do with the turbo causing issues.
Right.
So I think people need to take a step back, and when they see issues, what's the issue? Is it because the turbo was blowing up the pistons, or is it just something completely unrelated to where it is what it is?
With the turbos, we're seeing probably like a government push on the smaller engines. There's different regulations, so it's almost something that is unavoidable, which is sad to see, but
yeah,
at the same time too, automakers could offer other options too. So like pump out the engines that are going to be under the regulations, right? And just have another option.
Right.
I don't know how you work around that, but
yeah, it'd be interesting to see have a V6 available, but have like the hybrid turbos available too.
Right.
On a complete extreme look, Aston Martin years ago, they made the little Signet, which was literally a Toyota IQ, which just had Aston Martin stuff on it to get their MPG up. Nobody bought that car. It was a complete irrelevant, stupid car, but they still sold their V12s, which they're still making. So
they needed that car to show
to lower their, or to up their average, basically.
Yeah.
So maybe car companies could just offer a V6 too and have these available too. And obviously the turbos would literally sit and never sell, which,
right.
We don't care. We'd buy what we want.
Yeah.
Another thing with that is MPG is kind of like the push on a lot of this stuff. So we're averaging 18 MPG in this truck. What did you get in your V6 Tacoma?
Stock, it was probably around 19 or so. Then I lifted it, and the 33s, which this is on 33s now, went to about 17, maybe 18, maybe 18 and a half if I was lucky.
Yeah.
And then obviously 35s dropped it to like 14. But, that's not factory. But for this factory truck, it seems like it's in line with the outgoing NA engine. So there's no real benefits to it other than the fact that everything's kind of the same, which I guess is a benefit. You're getting a smaller engine that it's still getting the same MPG.
That's the thing, though.
It should get more.
The consumers are hearing this as, okay, smaller engine, turbo to get better efficiency, but real world comes down to the same efficiency.
Right.
Those buyers are then going to say, well, if I'm going to have the same efficiency, let me have a V6.
Right.
Like, I can totally see that aspect to where you're not really going to notice that. I think it's more of this has the potential to have better gas mileage.
Yeah.
So when they do their government regulated tests, of course they're going to show best case scenario.
Yeah.
It might show a 10% increase, which is might be the numbers that they need to continue producing cars the way they do.
Right.
But real world, it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is. I guess it is cool though to see that. Yeah, the MPG is about the same. Your towing should be about the same.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you're getting the same features just with that push in the engine change.
And I think overall, like, I don't really care as much on paper as I do as real world. When I'm driving in the turbo, like giving it some throttle.
I mean, that's way more than my V6.
That was half throttle.
Yeah.
I mean, this
you almost
is quick.
spun in the gravel.
That was less than 4,000 RPM.
Yeah.
We got obviously drive modes in some of these trucks. Where's Baja mode? Because apparently that's a fun mode to go into. But if you take
Should be one more. Yeah.
There we go. But if you drive these trucks...
Here, I don't reduce your ESC, so be careful.
Like that, the V6 would have been sluggish. You can't do that. So drivability, I think, has increased a lot on these turbos because it is more fun to drive. It's more fun to just kind of rip on a little bit like a little Baja truck.
Well, what's crazy too, along with that, I got a ton of comments on my truck and just in general with trucks, like why you're not accelerating fast or what's the 0 to 60 on. Like, people want, for whatever reason, a lot of truck people are interested in their 0 to 60. Like, how quick is it? It's not, like I said earlier, the V6 wasn't that much, didn't have that much power.
Right.
So now we have that power. Yes, we have a different engine, but it's still not, like, you're getting that quicker get up and go, but the engine change, it's like you can't win, right? You could win if you like supercharge the V6 or something, but
when you had the V6 Tacoma, we made a video racing my Supra, which obviously blew it away,
right?
Because at the time we were getting so many comments about top speed after you re-geared it, 0 to 60 times.
Yeah,
for us, we were like, what the heck?
Even
it's a truck.
Even the stock top speed for my Tacoma was like 113.
Yeah.
I re-geared it, it went to 80 or 85.
That's like 95, I thought.
Was it? It was up there. Let's say 90 average.
Yeah.
And people were complaining that was too slow. I was like, I'm in a lifted pickup truck. Hey, that's a turtle.
He's alive. We're good.
I'm in a lifted truck. Like, I don't even need to break 100, but I don't know what it is.
And then now we have these turbo cars that are much more peppy, zippy.
You can tune them.
Yeah.
Potentially.
And then now people complain that it's a small engine. Now, I did see a good comment on my Frontier versus the Ranger. The Frontier apparently has a quicker 0 to 60 time than the Ranger, which has the 4-cylinder turbo.
Yeah.
I didn't really look into it. If that is true, great. The V6, again, has horsepower. But how often are you redlining a truck like this doing 0 to 60 runs? Like,
you're not.
Even in my Nissan GTR, which is like the launch control 0 to 60 king out there, I hardly ever did that. So nobody buying these trucks cares really about the 0 to 60 redlining runs because you're not doing that.
I did it twice, I think, for that top speed.
For the video.
Yeah, for the video, and I mean, that was it. Like,
But like your normal driving, I'm giving it half throttle, just getting up to 60, not redlining, of course. And the turbo, it gets there quicker if you're not redlining the engine, which to me makes it easier to do it, to where you can just give it half throttle and the truck zips up to speed. You don't have to stop it, redline it, and just go crazy in a truck that is not built for performance. I think drivability wise, I don't have an issue. I think they're fine. Reliability, I don't think there will be issues. And if there are boost issues, like actual turbo issues, they'll hopefully fix them. But I don't know. It's a changing world now with the turbo engines. But I think you do get a better driving vehicle. Basically, the low-end torque is what you're gaining. You're not really gaining efficiency. You're not gaining top end. Not really gaining much towing capabilities.
I will be interested to see when I get my Tacoma how well it does tow.
Yeah.
Like, what is the load on the engine with 6,000 pounds on the back of the truck? Like, is that low-end torque going to help put less stress on that amount of weight?
Or will then we see over boosting issues to where the engine is blowing up because the boost is just blowing it up?
Right.
Which we haven't seen. So it's kind of one of those things where we haven't seen those issues, so let's maybe not worry about them until they come up, if they ever do.
Right. But at the same time too, like I said earlier, I think most people buying this truck aren't really towing with it. You might put stuff in the bed, you might put a small utility trailer on the back.
Yeah.
But it's not a truck geared towards towing. I'm going to be towing with mine. So I'll be kind of on that lower spectrum of how does it actually tow.
I think most people are buying full-size trucks, and honestly, I mean, diesel trucks are still far more superior.
Yeah.
And if you're towing obviously heavy stuff, you're going with a diesel truck anyway.
Right.
But yeah, light stuff, utility, I don't think, normal boats, trailers, I don't think it'll be really crazy.
Towing your boat to the boat ramp, you're towing, but you're not you don't do that every single day. It's not your job to use it to tow.
Yeah, these aren't utility.
But it's capable to go, 20 minutes down the road or whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, those are kind of our thoughts with it. We obviously are filming all sorts of these new trucks, the Frontiers, the Rangers, the GM, the Tacomas, and the biggest comments are four-cylinder turbos. A lot of people don't like them. However, a lot of people who are buying them really like them because they're enjoying the benefits that we've mentioned. So we'll kind of see. I think the biggest thing comes down to if they can be reliable, then there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the biggest concern, which I don't see it as truly a big concern. Will these turbo engines hit 300,000 miles like the old ones? I don't know. I mean, really long term, I guess we will have to see, because a lot of people these days just don't keep a car 300,000 miles.
Yeah.
And I feel like the people who do aren't buying a new car today anyways.
Right.
So you guys are probably 10 to 20 years away from buying your next car anyways, to where, I don't know, it might not even be an issue.
Yeah, I did see...
Whole different world in 2 more decades.
I did see something talking about in today's market. That wasn't that bad.
That's peppy.
But I did see something recently about in today's world, people are keeping vehicles longer.
Yeah.
I think it's like 12 and a half years is the average now. So it will be interesting to see if people are keeping their older vehicles much longer. How are you going to be able to test some of these newer vehicles? Obviously, people are buying them.
It's going to be a while.
It's going to be interesting,
truly know the reliability of these. It's going to be a decade until we know how well these did, which a decade later,
Yeah, and you might as well buy it now if you want it and
see what happens.
See what happens. Yeah, I mean,
cars have warranties, so worst case, it's under warranty, under recall, but hope for the best and kind of see what happens. The market is changing, the world's changing. Unfortunately, we just kind of have to adapt to it.
Yeah. Follow along with the channel though, with the Tacoma that I get, and
if it
show you the ins and outs.
If it blows up, that's some cool content, and it'll be under warranty, so we'll get it fixed. Anyway, those are kind of our thoughts. Comment below, what do you guys think? Like, take a step back. I know it can get people a little emotional about what they really love, have had for 20 years, and now it's changing. Not everyone likes change. I get it.
Yeah.
Take a step back and really just think about driving it. Don't worry about the numbers. Drive it, see what you think, and I don't know. I think most of the time it'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
Not really a concern.
Aside from the different exhaust note.
Yeah, it's not going to sound the same, but these were never V8s anyway.
Right.
So anyways, that is it then. Comment below, let us know your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, stay tuned for plenty more content. We'll see you all in the next video.